Panel. Joining us now, attorney and Democratic strategist David Katz and John Dennis, the Republican opponent of Pelosi running for Congress in their San Francisco district. Good to have you both with us, gentlemen.
Thanks for having me.
With you.
All right, David, let's start with you. A CBS poll has shown that 82% of independents approved of the president's State of the Union address. We had House Speaker Pelosi making headlines around the world by tearing up a copy of the president's speech. And that was just one example of how Pelosi made her disdain for the president shown. For example, she didn't give him a traditional introduction. The hashtag Pelosi tantrum is trending. Do you think that this really helped the Democrats?
Well, I think it absolutely showed that the Democrats are not going to take lies from the president. And the president started it being petulant toward the Speaker of the House. They're of opposing parties, but he's supposed to show some politeness to her and some decorum. He didn't. Then he told so many lies. He said he was always going to defend the people against having to deal with pre-existing conditions. He would have canceled pre-existing conditions, help for people, assurance for people, if he'd have had his way. He lied about our foreign policy. It was full of lies. And so Pelosi, at the end of the speech, tore it up because it wasn't, if Hillary Clinton had done that, she'd probably be president today. She showed some spunk. Now the question is, Michelle, whether she'll go on to have the kind of congressional investigations in the House of the Republicans that there ought to be. She's really treated the president with kid gloves. Maybe the kid gloves have come off.
All right. So, David, you clearly do not find Pelosi's actions remotely inappropriate. All right. How about it, Dennis? David says the president started it. Go ahead. What's your response?
I'd say spoken like a true never-Trumper. Last night was a celebration of success. It was a celebration of the American spirit. It was a celebration of American decency. And if there's anyone who should be eschewed, it's Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi just dragged the country through a completely unnecessary and unfounded impeachment process. If she really felt that the president had gotten close to the line, she could have sent him a letter of rebuke. She could have censured him. Instead, what she did was she dragged this country through its inevitable end in an acquittal for the president. And may I remind the other panelists that it was Donald Trump who offered Nancy Pelosi help when she couldn't secure the Speaker of the House position after the 2016 election. He congratulated Nancy Pelosi. He said she deserved to be the Speaker of the House. And if she couldn't cut a deal with the progressive wing of the party, that he would actually find the votes in the Republican House, from the Republican side, and assure her position. She told him to buzz off effectively. And that was
Dennis, Democrats are saying that the president set the tone here. It looked as though he may have rejected her handshake. Granted, Vice President Pence did not extend his hand out for a handshake, so it wasn't clear if the president saw her stretching out her hand. But does the president have some role to play in how bitterly partisan politics have become, Dennis? Well,
of course he does, and he has done that on multiple occasions. But here's Nancy Pelosi in a recent television appearance, saying that impeachment is forever, like some, rejected high school senior who didn't get her date to the prom. It's been a disgraceful display, frankly, from someone who's is entering years where maybe she's actually sort of falling back into an earlier time in her life when she was a spoiled teenager, as if she didn't get the birthday present she wanted from her dad. This is really unbecoming behavior, unbecoming of any congressional representative.
All right, look, this impeachment experiment did not work out in the Democrats' favor. David, you can't dispute that. Gallup polls are showing that the president has his highest approval rating to date, 49%. And yet we have Nadler saying that the House Democrats are going to continue to investigate the president. He says it's likely they'll subpoena former National Security Advisor John Bolton. From a strategic point of view, is this really a good idea for Democrats to be harping on this? Should they not let this go and try and get some policy done before the elections?
From a strategic point of view, what the Democrats did was very smart. My hat's off to Adam Schiff and to Jerry Nadler, because the Democrats would have stayed home in droves if they hadn't have impeached this president. What he did the day after he thought he was cleared in the Mueller investigation to make that phone call where he tried to shake down a foreign leader for political help It was an outrage. And I think if your other guest wants to do something productive, he should join the Romney in 2024.
All right, so David, you think this is the right move then? Just to be clear, you think it is the right move for Nadler and the Democrats to continue with this?
And it's absolutely the right move. There's been so much corruption in this White House. It's the worst we've ever seen, and they've treated it with kid gloves. The Republicans need to be called to account for some of the things that they've done. The census debacle, some of the other, the stonewalling, all of these documents. There's an oversight function that the House needs to pursue. But what I'm saying is that your other guest, I think if he wants to do something productive, should get behind Romney in 2024, because there's a Republican that people can really admire. Whatever stripe or political persuasion you are, he showed courage, he showed principle, he evaluated the evidence, and he found that Trump was guilty. Everyone in the country knows, history will know that Trump was guilty. Come on.
John, what do you say to that? David's making the point. It's up to the House to continue to investigate these types of oversights. What's your response?
Well, then they can continue to dig their own grave. Incidentally, turnout in Iowa last night was far lower than expected. And that's a very, very bad sign for the Democrats. And so let them keep digging their own grave. They're just going to help to ensure a Republican House. Donald Trump is winning re-election. The Republicans will hold the Senate. And as far as Mitt Romney dug his own political grave today. I don't know if he can survive a Senate race in Utah after what he did. And one point I might add, I watched an interview with Mitt Romney where he constantly referred to his faith and to his God. And you talk to anybody who detects lies for a living, and they'll tell you that people who fib frequently refer to their God and their faith. This was an unbecoming.
David, I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your thoughts on Iowa. We still have no final result, and Republicans have been making the point that, look, if the Democrats can't even run a caucus in Iowa, they certainly can't run health care. They certainly can't run the government. Is that a valid point to make, considering how Iowa's turned out, David?
No, Michelle. Anything could go wrong with an app. Of course, they should have tested it more. If the Iowa caucus people didn't do it properly, that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be national health care. It doesn't mean the Democrats shouldn't be in power. The Democrats handled things very well for the 8 years that they were in power. The economy was actually going up. You know, the economy was on third base, and Trump says he hit a triple. No, he didn't. The economy was trending in this upward direction, and watch, it may all turn around on Trump, and he may be in terrible shape. And when the stock portfolios go down, believe me, Trump is going down.
Well,
there'll be a Democratic president, House, and Senate this year. You wait and see.
Okay, David, so far S&P hitting an all-time high, but we appreciate both of your perspectives tonight. Thank you so much, David Katz and John Dennis.